right, welcome to the first episode of the Bears podcast, for which we don't have a name yet because we're kind of still in production. My name is Karel. I'm joined by George today.
All right, guys.
And our guest today is Biggs, or Michael Szollosy, or however you pronounce it. I can never figure it out.
That's spot on. That was absolutely spot on. That's the Canadianization of a Hungarian surname.
It's Hungarian.
Yeah.
Oh, I always thought it was Polish. I don't know why.
Very common, very common in Poland, but I think it's because it's Hungarian initially. So, and in Hungarian, SZ is pronounced as an S.
Yeah.
S's are pronounced as SH. So
Yeah.
I have no idea to pronounce my own last name.
Let's start off with the most pressing question, which is probably going to be with Varsity ending about 2 weeks ago now.
God.
How did it feel to finally win after, 18 years?
18 years. 16 goes, I think, in 18 years. Yeah. I'd fantasized about what it was going to be like to win. And I tried to imagine what I would do and what it would feel like. And at the end, it was just relief. It was just, I felt a massive, thank God. That was about it. I just, and then other emotion. It was very, I don't think I've ever had a day in my life where I've had so many different emotions pile into each other and smash up together and conflict with one another. And it was, for so many different reasons. And, I went from, I think relief is the overwhelming one. Like when I was just like, oh, and then moments of, oh my God, pure joy. And then, oh my God, fear of what's next.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for all the, uni players I've played with over the years that hadn't won it and probably deserved to more than I did. And obviously, there's a family connection there as well. So it's, Will wasn't there, which would have been nice, but for suspensions and things like that. That was a pain. So there was a million different feelings coming together all at once. And at the end, I just think I wanted to have a big sleep. I can't believe it was only 2 weeks ago. It feels like 2 years ago now almost.
I must admit, Michael, I saw during the penalty shootout, there was a chance for Uniov to win it on a couple of occasions before you finally did. Yeah. And on one of them, I just looked, because I was up in the box, obviously, doing commentary with Scott Ancliffe for the Varsity. And I was in one of the boxes and I just looked at you and I could just see what looked to be every emotion just etched on your face, like looking back towards the crowd. How were you feeling during that penalty shootout?
That was insane. I mean, to be honest, it was the penalty shootout. I had a big whack of surprise as well, because there was a huge party that just, and God, don't hate me for saying this, my teammates, but that just expected we were going to lose. We've been close before. We'd had a penalty shootout before. We'd had games where we just played out of our skins, and we didn't win it. And for whatever reason, there was always something that happened, a moment of genius from a Hallam player or a Hallam line, or, a bad luck, or, something not even terrible. Yeah. But, and then I kept, oh, wow, we didn't lose it there. Oh, thought we would. Oh, wow, we didn't lose it. And I feel terrible saying that to my own teammates, I didn't have belief in them. But I've had belief in so many people before, and they're a great team. And, I'm glad this is the team that did it. Part of me was just saying like, oh, is this the shot where, we lose it, or this is the one where, Yuki, somebody dribbles past him, or, the shot hits the crossbar, or, Sam Rogers pulls out another, beautiful penalty, with supreme confidence. And it was, no, oh, well, okay. So, it shows with hockey is, you kind of know if you're exposed to it enough, and I'm sure we all are, that it's skill, it's talent, it's a lot of luck, and I think there was just, and maybe that sense of disbelief I have is part of the reason why we haven't won it before, maybe, and people have said, do you think maybe it's just you? It's like, yeah, it could very well be. I've always said that, Univ would stand a lot better chance of winning if I wasn't playing, because that means we'd have 9 better forwards. I couldn't get in the team, so that's probably a good thing. So, yeah, but it was like you said, every emotion happening all at once.
So obviously you were the player coach on the day. When Ryan Marsden made it 2-1 to Hallam, obviously there was only, I think, 8 minutes left at the time. from there, I personally thought Hallam would probably go on and win, maybe like they did in the previous year. Obviously, you went 1-0 up again last year. Same again this year. When they made it 2-1, I thought Hallam would go on and make it 3-4, maybe 5. So what was your message to the players when they made it 2-1?
On the day, so technically I'm player coach, and in the run up I pick the systems, I usually pick the team, but I do it in consultation with whoever the captains are, and I always get a really good team of coaches to help me out since I've been player coach. So in the past it's been people like Rob Firth, and it's been we've had other people that have come on the bench and helped out, everybody from I think Zella's been on the bench before, to anybody who's ever played for Uni of I'll have a conversation with and say, come on the bench and help me out. And Tom Brooks-Smith and Will Payne did a great job, and just kind of leading on the day. So I always turn over control on the day to whoever the coaches are. And I say, have a conversation with me, talk about, but ultimately you get to call who's going out, who's ready for it. You get to make those decisions. So I let them do that, really. I just kind of try to focus on the game, especially lately that I'm too busy trying to catch my breath in between shifts. I can't really dictate. But I think there was a season when I was player coach of the A's, when I started I would come on the bench, I'd dress, come on the bench, rip off my helmet, and then just start coaching. And then, sometimes there was one time we went to wherever it is you go to play, St. Andrews. And I took the helmet off and I don't even think I got dressed. And you're not getting dressed. There was only about 9 players on the team. And I said, no, I've decided I'm more used shouting at you on the bench than I am actually getting mad at myself and struggling for breath off it. So, that time will probably come soon with Uni of as well, when it's more about what I bring as a coach and what I bring as a player. But so at the time, to answer your question in a very roundabout way, I didn't say very much. I just, come on guys, dig in. And we were all saying it. The other good thing is, I'm sure the Hallam bench is the same, but we've got everybody's knows the game. Everybody's a good leader. Everybody wants to work hard for the team. So there's not much motivation needed. You're in front of 8,000 people. If you can't lift yourself for that. But I think what's important was, there was a moment where I think the second goal went in, and there was that moment where it's like, oh, here's where it all goes wrong. That doesn't mean we put our heads down and just ignore it, but you keep going, and with a bit of luck and the hockey gods willing, you'll sort it out and you'll come through.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great finish from Sam Parkin, obviously, to make it 2-2. So from that point on, obviously that was with 2 minutes left. Do you think part of you maybe thought, maybe this is it? Maybe this is the year we can win it?
I mean, I always believe a little bit, and every year. And Barton's been teasing me about it for got to be a decade now, at least, if not longer, where is this the year? And we always have a thing, because there was one year, notoriously, many, many moons ago, where we thought, this is our year, and it really should have been that year, and it wasn't, for whatever reason. And so every year, we that little bit creeps in. There's always the rookie, that thinks, or in the case of Radu, he's been there 2 years, where it's like, this could be our year, and everybody who's been there before says, no, we'd never say that, because it always just ends in heartbreak. But that thought, this is our year, creeped into my mind in September, it creeped into December, it crept in the week before the game, it crept into the first period when the first goal went in, the second intermission, and even, when that second goal went in, I still got a, no, come on, we can do this moment. So it was, it was definitely never far from my mind that this could be the year. Mm-hmm. So I think it was just one of those. This year it did, for a bit of miracle goaltending and a great finish from Parkin and some real effort and a few bounces go our way, and there we go. Yep. I sound so blasé about it after 18 years, don't I? But we were owed it, maybe, from the hockey gods. Like, thank you very much. But we got there.
Yeah, it was definitely a well-deserved win.
It was a well-deserved win. Even from someone from Hallam like me.
Yeah, but also too, it's like, and part of the thing about being Bears coach is that, I love all the players involved. I'm sure the players do as well. It's like it's a civil war, but ultimately we all have a certain affection for each other. And I hate myself for it, but I'm so used to cheering for Sam Rogers. So Sam got up to take a penalty, and I thought that was his first penalty. He strode up. He was so confident. He looked great, and when he scored, I couldn't help but smile. And I thought, oh, good job, man. That was great. And damn, what am I doing? And that's the conflicting emotions again, right? So I hate the feeling that those Hallam players are great players as well. It wasn't like they didn't try hard, they didn't work. It was, we had a bit of luck on our side, and we worked hard and we deserved it, yes, but it doesn't mean that we dominated or the other team wasn't in with a shout, So it was. I thought it was a great game. I mean, hockey was the winner.
So to move away from Varsity, you're from Canada, but how did you end up in the UK?
Oh, that was to do a degree. So I went to Montreal to do my MA. I was going to do writing, and I wound up doing like an MA in English Lit. And I got into a particular kind of literary criticism. And I was going to stay in Montreal, where I just met the love of my life, and she happened to be British. But then I got the chance to come here. I couldn't do my degree there, so I had a chance to come here into Sheffield instead. So where they do it was a very specific kind of literary criticism I was doing. So we went and I came here to do it, and that was 1997. Yeah. So and then I've just stayed since. I mean, Sheffield is a way of kind of sucking you in and not letting you go. So that was it. And then I was only going to stay for a couple of years initially, where I was doing some of my PhD, and then I think my then partner, now wife's sister, started having babies, and then we started having babies, and then the baby started school, and now they're fingers crossed I'll have two at uni in Sheffield next year. So it's kind of rolled that way.
How did that then lead you to robotics? Because that's something that I never really understood.
That's another whole podcast, that one. That's so the short version was that I did not much English literature, more culture studies, and I was working on a book on the cultural history of vampires and a course. And then I ran into a friend of mine who was working in robotics, and he said, you do culture studies and stuff. Why are people afraid of robots? And in my head, I just kind of crossed out the word vampire and put the word robot in and gave him the same answer, more or less. It represents something of inherited of our fears and our projections of ourselves. And he went, "That's a great answer. We should do a paper together." And that's how it started over a decade ago now, that. And then I would do little things like I would go do a talk. Someone would ask me to go do a talk about that, because it was a very interesting topic at the time. And I would say, "Oh, right, maybe I'll get a robot to come with me as a demo to show people robots aren't scary." And then they're like, "Yeah, you can have that one over there." So I started doing little bits of programming with it and stuff. I still don't do mostly programming, but I got into robots and understood how they worked and stuff. There is a longer version of that answer, but we don't have to go there.
We can do that another time.
Another time.
I must admit, Biggs, like, none of that really came as a surprise to me, because when Carell messaged me at 20 past, when I read the message at 20 past 3 today, I did a little skim read of your website, so I had a little bit of a understanding of you as a person, if you know what I mean. It's a very, very strange career from English Lit to robotics, but, can't knock it.
Poor you learning more about me and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well,
it's
some form of research.
Yeah, so there is like probably a more detailed version of what we were just talking about in terms of how I went from English Lit to robotics via the Faculty of Medicine as well, and then science. There's 5 faculties at the university, and I've taught in 4 of them. I've worked in 4 of them, because I started in English Lit, which is in humanities, and then I started teaching psychotherapy. I've been too much hockey on the brain. I was teaching psychotherapy, and I was doing that in the Faculty of Medicine at Shar, and then I went to start researching robotics. So it's first in psychology, which is in the Faculty of Science, and now in computer science, which is in the Faculty of Engineering. So the only one I haven't conquered yet is social science. I mean, there is a longer version of that story, but I'm not sure anybody wants to hear it. But
well, I'm sure. I mean, I'd definitely be interested, but we're probably not going to have time to cover it today.
Or in the next week.
We're going to do a podcast series on how you moved from literature to robotics. So
they do those on Radio 4. My God, I'm admitting to listening to Radio 4 for fun of the day, but it was they call it the Life Scientific, and there's always some story about how did you go from studying shells in Dorset to becoming a biologist and working in a NASA lab somewhere. And it's like that would be that kind of origin story, right? Not that interesting.
So, going back to Bears and ice hockey, you've been in the club for a really long time, almost from where it started, or were you actually there when it started?
I just missed where it started, so I think, and I'm 99% sure this is true. They put a team together to enter nationals in 2004, and I joined that summer.
Okay.
So I started playing hockey again after my eldest was born, and I realized I needed to get back in shape, and I tried all kinds of different things, including like fencing and running and all kinds of other different things that weren't me. I said, maybe I'll try playing hockey again because I played as a kid, and went for some old man's rec team where a couple of the young guys that had been training there over the summer while they were waiting for Bears said, "Oh, are you at the university?" I said, "Yes." And they're like, "You could probably come and play with us." And then that was it. I just went to Bears training when it started up back in September, and that was our first full season. The A team was in Div 2 in those days. And then at the Nationals that year, I think they won Nationals, Div 2 Nationals that year. And then we played in Div 2, and then back in the days when Div 2 was optional checking or non-checking. So every game you had to ask the other team, are we playing this checking or non-checking? And then we asked to enter into Division 1 Nationals. We won most of the games, but we weren't, world beaters or anything, but we just wanted the challenge. I think that's set a good precedent for the Bears. I think that's what the Bears have always been about ever since. We always push ourselves that little bit further.
So over that span of many, many years, how would you say the Bears have changed? Because obviously we've got a lot more teams now.
Oh, yeah.
There's different people, but like as a club, what's different?
You're asking me at a really good time for reasons I can't go into. I've been thinking a lot about how the Bears have changed over the years and things. It's been fantastic. I mean, from one team to 8 nationals this year. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and a women's team. Yes, 8 teams. So, I mean, like, it's massive. It's completely different. We've done so many changes in the structure and having coaching in place and the players. I mean, we've gone from having 15 players to over 130. I mean, it's ridiculous. And yet, so many of the things are the same. And I think there's always been this kind of culture at the Bears that hasn't changed that much. And maybe it's because, we do cliches, but, the Mavs have always been the Mavs and the Metros have always been the Metros. And other teams, there's a kind of culture settles in at these teams. I think the Bears, that thing about, won Div 2 Nationals in our first season and then asked to move up to Div 1 Nationals the next year. I think that's so Bears to me. That's what we would do. And 10 years ago, others will be able to sort it out if you ask me another time. But there was, an occasion where we entered 2 B teams because we had so many people that wanted to play checking. We wanted the challenge. We could have done the easy thing that other clubs do and, have our very, very talented kind of B2 team play in Division 3. But that wasn't us. We wanted to do something else. And I think that's always been part of the Bears, that we always kind of push ourselves and that kind of, I'm not saying that, we've got this, that's part of our culture. I think there's some of the things that were in the Bears right from the start are still in the Bears now. Some of those attitudes and the culture of, the hockey culture of the club. I think that's really important.
So, Biggs, why do you think there's so many players like now then? So obviously, as you said, there was only one team when you first started. And obviously, Beth Jacobs posted on the Facebook the other day that this season is the most amount that we've had. I think it's 130 plus.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember off the top of my head.
131, was it?
I think it was 33.
Yeah.
33. That sounds about right, yeah.
I thought it was 34. Oh, well. But yeah, like, how do you think like that's come about? So obviously we've got, as you said, teams down to like F and then women's or something like that. But how do you think it's happened then, that we've got so many players now?
That's a great question. I think it's been a combination of a lot of different things. One is that culture again. That's what we are as the Bears. The Bears are always about kind of this dual thing of wanting to play hockey and having elite streams, but also just letting people play just for the love of the game. And that's something we introduced. I mean, we had an A team, and then we had an A and B team, and then C's, and then we've always wanted to grow it. And there's been a real kind of ideological design behind that. It's not just, oh, look, we have more players. We've gone out and recruited more players because we want them. We want people to play hockey. We want to introduce people to the sport. That's partly something I've been involved with, and I think has always been a really big thing that I've wanted to do. And I've been head coach now for 12 years, I think. But it's down so much to the committees we've had over the years. We've been really, really lucky at the Bears just to have this fantastic leadership team year in and year out that have just, I go through some of the amazing people and the amazing teams we've had that have organized the Bears and done stuff. And there's also things like this, like and Varsity and just the hard work that people have put in, and I see it all part of the Bears getting bigger. I'm proud of the 8 teams. I'm proud that we've got a women's team. It happened a few years ago. We've got live stream of all the games. I can't tell you how cool I think that is. We're better than most ice hockey clubs in the country for that. It's amazing. Now podcasts and we've got the Give It a Go sessions where we drag people in. We drag them in. They're queuing up. We've had to have multiple sessions. Varsity's been a huge part of that, since day one. So we've had Varsity where we used to organize it entirely on our own backs at Ice Sheffield, turning it into I think there was the first one, there was like a dozen people in the stands, turning it into a sellout there and then moving it to the arena. And even when it first moved to the arena, we still did most of the organization ourselves. And then having a seconds Varsity, and that's all been on our back and just trying to grow it and giving people a chance just to have fun playing hockey, which is what it's got to be about. There's so few people in this country playing professionally. And yet that's still how a lot of coaches and clubs mark themselves. Like, how many do we have playing pro? It's a stupid way to do it. We've got the Bears are the best. It's hockey for the love of hockey. It's a beautiful thing. It's so pure. So I think, that's all a huge part of it, I think. And it's just been the fantastic people involved in the club. And I've been involved in junior clubs and the women's club in Sheffield and semi-pro clubs and all that. Not to take anything away from all of them, where you got some very good people, but the Bears are just a special thing. We've had the most amazing people. I'm going to get all emotional.
Yeah.
It's that thing about look what we're doing now. It's so cool.
So what would be like the most, say, memorable moment for you?
Wow.
Varsity's going to be up on the top somewhere, right?
Winning Varsity is pretty cool. That's more of a uni of moment, and a personal thing. I think for the Bears, I think one of the really the big moment. I always quote this moment because it looks really good for me, is to say I was head coach when, but we were always working towards saying. I'd said sometime like 2016 or 17, we're just a year or two away and a couple of players at the top end from winning everything. And then it was 2020, right before we shut down for COVID. It was February 2020, where we won Tier 1. The A team won the league-style cup competition. Can't call it a league. The A team won, the B team won, the C team won. The D team only missed out because they had to play the Steel Queens, who are... full respect to them, but they were stacked with GB players. And the E team won their cup-style league competitions that year. And that was the year where we just kind of looked at it, yep, that was hashtag We Are the League started then. And this is what, why maybe other teams don't like us, but this is where we get annoying. But that kind of self-confidence too, and that sense of, okay, we've arrived now. We're really doing this. Like, we're seriously a force to be reckoned with now. And that was a great feeling. I think that for me was the highlight, where it was like, I don't think it can get much better than that. And that's what we've kind of been aiming to, just to have all these different teams where we have everything from top elite players who are in NIHL 1 or NIHL, straight down to people who have just learned to start skating, and we're winning everything. So we got the fun and the winning all together at once, which is, you can't beat that. That's perfect.
Yeah.
There's lots of other little highlights along the way. But that for me is like, that's the mountaintop. Should have retired then.
I think something that I've just written down here as well is about like the Bears and how it's run. It seems to be a very almost like a community run thing, like within the Bears. Like it's, I don't know. I don't know if there's a hierarchy as such, but it just always seems like it's very well run, sort of in every aspect, really. Like, what do you think about that? That's probably a terrible question, actually, but...
Oh, no, it's great. Are you kidding me? You're queuing up for me to say how great the Bears are. No, I totally agree, and that's actually by design. It's not an accident. So there's a lot I could say about that, but it goes back to, the Bears used to be run by these ridiculously talented and driven people, and there's some lovely, lovely human beings who used to run the club in the early days. You should talk to some of them, actually, and talk the real history of the Bears from some of them. But it was very much kind of a one-person thing. And it started getting bigger, and we started realizing you can't do it with one person. And then I think there was a key moment of many years back when we kind of changed the structure of the committee with the help of the university, and I took over as like a head coach to develop coaches, and I think it became less hierarchical. Then it became more of a community thing. That's not to do down any of the people who preceded that, who worked very hard, who were terrific as well, driving things forward. But then it just became a thing like, this is too big for one person to do. And I think the great thing about the Bears, for all the, and it's funny because people will complain and say sometimes, oh well, there's this problem there, or this coach isn't running this team so well, and you always have individual problems like that. But again, remember that I see how other clubs are run, and not to do down any other teams in Sheffield, but I see other teams right around the country and how they're run, and I see the kind of problems they have, and the kind of problems Bears have are completely normal. You will never be able to get away from that in a hockey team. Problems, no. There's always going to be some kind of, resentments about this or that, or problems here, and those are the kind of normal things. But we've got a structure in place in the Bears that kind of lets us deal with that and makes it possible to deal with these things, and that's the amazing thing about it. So it's absolutely a very perceptive point that it's a very well-run club, but that's also by design, because the people that have been working towards that for coming up to 20 years now. We have 20th anniversary. Technically next year. And that's been 22 decades in the process of building a kind of structure around it. That's the club that makes it run so well. And, I used to have a hand on that when I was on committee. Now I don't have anything to do with the committee anymore. That just runs itself, and I just take care of the coaches. And even then, I'm not doing it by myself. The great thing about the coaches at the Bears is we've got an amazing team, and, full of great, really enthusiastic people that, it's the everybody chipping in and hit by a bus test. Like I call it the hit by a bus test. So if any one person got hit by a bus, the club would continue. I've seen other clubs where they're great, but you realize if that one person gets hit by a bus, this whole club's going to fall apart. And we're certainly not like that.
So you very quickly mentioned, this is going to be our last question.
Okay.
You very quickly mentioned that you should have retired after those nationals. And you keep saying that you're going to retire every year.
Old. I'm really old.
When are you going to retire then?
Oh, I don't know. Depends from what. There's a lot of things I could retire from now. Somebody said after this varsity I should retire, and for very personal reasons I'm going to do one more varsities first. If I earn it, I have to earn it. I don't just assume I'm going to get, like I never have assumed that I just get a spot.
Just get yourself in.
I've just as coach put myself in. It might be my year where I dress, take my helmet off as soon as I get on the bench, and just yell at people the whole time.
Nobody's going to say no to you.
Yeah, they have to. Don't tell me that, because they absolutely have to. And this is my thing about ideologically designed the Bears. And not me done it, but I've been a part of this thing. We've ideologically designed it so it doesn't ever depend on one person. We can't have an authoritarian state. I'm absolutely a complete libertarian socialist about the way I want to see the Bears run. It has to be on good anarchist principles. We could do another whole podcast about my political beliefs, but let's not do that right now. But yeah, don't tell me that I'm, the authoritarian, or I'll step back right away. But we did this year's and we won, and I said, maybe somebody suggested I should retire, and then Cam Glasby, who is a lovely human being, and one of the he's a good metaphor for my life. Every time I want to say, that, I'm not as good a coach as everybody thinks I am, I just remember Cam Glasby, because everybody points out I'm a shit coach because I did put him in the B team this first year as a Bear. So obviously I don't know what I'm doing, but he said I should keep going until I've evened it out. So there was the same number of wins for Uniev and Hallam. So even assuming with Uniev wins the next 15 in a row, which I think that's probably a generous assumption. Ginny's looking at me like, that's never going to happen. That would be 15 more, and I'll be 67. Which I think is hilarious. Yeah, I'm that old. That's what I mean when I say I'm that old. And I think, when did this start? I think, I'm not that much different than when I started Bears. But no, I was really different when I started Bears. I was much younger. I was in my early 30s.
We should get a picture of you back then.
Oh, I'll definitely supply them. It'll be in the show notes. So when am I going to retire? So I'm getting old. I'm getting tired. I do too much as it is right across the board. I'll probably retire from, I'm kind of like letting myself slide down the teams as well, because I was A team not long ago, and then I was B team for a while, and then I was A team again for a while. Then B team, and I'm with the C's now. I'm just going to keep going, and then one day I'll be on the H team and IJK team when we play there. And we'll have a Z team for those of us that have to play with our Zimmer frames in. So I'll do that. The coaching, that's different because I can do that longer. But then even then, it's not about me coaching. It's got to be about bringing new coaches through. So, I can see there's so many good young coaches we've got at the club now as well. Again, that's by design. So, maybe one day I can just pass over all the reins. But I don't think it's going to happen too soon because I'm kind of obsessed. So.
Well, that's good to hear for sure, because we love having you here.
Thanks, man.
And we've loved having you here today.
To say.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. It's been a lot of fun talking to you today.
Thanks,
I'm
man.
sure George enjoyed it just as much as I did.
Brilliant.
Thanks, George.
Cheers, Michael.
You guys have done such great work on all this. Like I said, when I'm looking at the Bears and I just turn around and go like, oh my God, we do this. It's like, oh my God, we have 8 teams. Oh my God, we have a women's team. We need a women's nationals. That's going to happen. I'm sorry, not a women's nationals, a women's varsity. That's going to happen soon, please. But you look at all the great things that we do. This is such a part of it. We're miles ahead of other clubs. Other clubs are looking at us. And we're talking about very well-run clubs throughout the UK that are supposed to be these greenhouses and hot houses of talent. And they don't have everything we've got. And this is such a big part of it. You guys have done such an amazing job all year. So thank you so very much. And I know we tease you about the commentary sometimes, but it's been so good. I love it. I love every moment of it. I will talk to you endlessly about anything you want. You promise more questions, I'll come back.
All right. Thanks again. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. The Bench Bear Podcast with Karel Merzena, George Barber, and Josh Walters. Produced by me, Karel Merzena. Graphics by Ginny Thorne. Music by Chris Haugen. You can find this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or other podcast platforms. Follow us on Instagram for news and updates about the club.